So what's the opposite of good? Bad. What's the opposite of right? So it's easy to think that the opposite of a good thing is a bad thing, and the opposite of the right thing is the wrong thing. I have 3 daughters. My wife and I have been married for 22 years. My wife likes to teach our kids to be appropriate. I like to teach our kids to be inappropriate. I had a success the other day. I was sitting on the couch, and my middle daughter was sitting on the other side, and we have a special connection. She's the middle one in our family, and I was the middle one in my family. And she's athletic, and I'm athletic, and she's snuggly, and I'm snuggly. And she was sitting over there on her iPad, and she came over, she sat on my lap, and we were watching some TV, and I thought, this is beautiful. This is what life is all about, snuggling with my daughter, watching a little television. But after 2 seconds, she was off my lap, and not only was she not next to me, she was all the way on the other side of the couch. And I was like, hey, what's going on? I thought we were going to have some snuggle time. She looks up from her iPad, she goes, I farted on you. And that's when I knew I was making a difference, right? That's when I knew that my life mattered. So what if instead of the opposite of a good thing being a bad thing, what if the opposite of a good thing was also a good thing? What if the opposite of a right thing wasn't a wrong thing? What if the opposite of a right thing was another right thing? eHarmony is a good website. They're a good company. They help people who are trying to find love, who are trying to find love forever. They advertise that they have more marriages, that they've put together more people who've become married than any other online dating site. So eHarmony's a good thing. They help people find the one forever. So what's the opposite of that? The opposite of that is Tinder. Tinder doesn't help you find the one forever. They help you find someone right now. Right? Sometimes the opposite of a good thing is also a good thing. If you've ever read a children's book, you know that children's books have pictures. Pictures are good. Illustrators get paid lots of money. There's contests to see who can do the best illustrations in children's books. And almost every single children's book has pictures. But B.J. Novak, one of the co-founders of the TV show The Office, just wrote a book called The Book with No Pictures for little kids. And there's not a single picture in the entire book. He wrote it in 2014, it's 2017, it's 3 years old, it's still in the top 200 books, not 200 children's books, the top 200 books on Amazon.com. Sometimes the opposite of a good thing is another good thing. If you play video games, you've heard of the video game Call of Duty. It's a first-person shooter game, and you feel like you're in the Army. You feel like you're in the Marines. You feel like you're right there. The graphics are just as good as in any movie. They're tremendously advanced. In fact, a lot of the graphics in movies come from CGI, come from the graphics they've designed in video games. So it's a good thing to have advanced graphics. It's a good thing to have a realistic video game. But you know what the #1 PC video game of all time is? Do you know what the #2 video game of all time is? It's if Legos were on the computer, it's Minecraft. Sold for $1 billion. Kids get on Minecraft not to have realistic, not to have advanced, to have primitive, to build things themselves, to build things that don't look quite right but pretty close. Right? Sometimes the opposite of a good thing is a good thing. But we can keep it going because Minecraft has been very, very successful, but it's complex. You have to build the worlds yourself. You have to develop the worlds yourself. You have to figure it out yourself. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moving pieces. And that's why there's games like Flappy Bird. Right? There's 2 things you can do in Flappy Bird. You can make your bird go up. You can make your bird go down. That's all you can do. It became the most downloaded free game in the iOS App Store ever. And at the point that the developers shut down the game, people were selling their phones to each other so they could get access to the game. Sometimes the opposite of a good thing is another good thing. We like big houses. We like space. We like to have the American dream. We want the white picket fence. Every year we have more square footage in our homes per person than we've had before. Big houses are a good thing. But right now in the United States, there's a movement called what? The tiny house movement. As a tall person, I find it offensive and discriminatory. But people are buying tiny houses like crazy. There's television shows about people buying tiny houses, moving into tiny houses, changing their lives to be in a tiny house. I have an idea for a Lifetime series. It's the murder-suicides that happen after people live in the tiny house for about 3 months, right? That's what I want to see. I want to see what happens after people live in that tiny, tiny space day after day after day. I want to see the divorce rate post-tiny house, right? But we're getting off track. Sometimes the opposite of a good thing is another good thing. Amazon is a good company. They're a successful company. What does Amazon do? Amazon sells everything to everyone, pretty much everywhere, all the time. Now let's stop for a second, because the reason I'm explaining this is because what people do when they see that is they say, that's success, and if I want to be successful or build a successful organization, I have to look for a way to copy the way that they're succeeding. If they're good, then I need to be good. It makes sense. So what's the opposite of Amazon? It would be a company that just sells one thing for one day. And there's a company like that. It's called Woot. Woot.com. They sell one thing for 24 hours or until it sells out. Unlike Amazon's amazing customer service, they offer no customer service. Specifically, they offer no exchanges, because once they've sold them all, they've sold them all. And they don't care if you want an exchange, because they don't have any to exchange them. But how successful could a company like that be? They're doing the opposite, sure, but that's not good enough. That's not interesting enough. No one's going to go to Woot.com. So many people went to Woot.com that a huge, successful company bought them. Do you know what that company's name was? Amazon.com. The company that's successful, selling everything to everyone, everywhere, realized that someone doing the opposite was tremendously valuable, so much so that they wanted to own it, and to their credit, they have not destroyed it by making it a little less of the opposite and a little more like Amazon. They've allowed it to stay the way that it was. If you've ever taken a picture on your phone, if you've ever used a photo sharing app, you're probably familiar with Snapchat. And the developer of Snapchat actually developed the idea when he was in his MBA class, and he presented it as his final presentation, his final project for his MBA class. And you know what feedback he got? We love the idea. It's a fantastic idea. The only problem with the idea is the pictures disappear. On Instagram, the pictures don't disappear. On Facebook, the pictures don't disappear. On Twitter, the pictures don't disappear. People pay millions of dollars every year to improve their search engine optimization on Google, to make everything they do findable, searchable, and available forever. No one's going to want an app where the pictures disappear. A few weeks ago, Snapchat did an IPO. They have 200 million users. And their IPO was worth $3.5 billion. Sometimes the opposite of a good thing is a good thing. So if you want to be more creative, I want you to think of two questions. What is everyone else doing? How can I do the opposite? If you want to be more innovative, I want you to ask two questions. What is everyone else doing? How can I do the opposite? If you want to differentiate yourself in your life, in your work, in your business, I want you to ask two questions. What is everyone else doing, and how can I do the opposite? Because sometimes the opposite of a good thing is a very good thing. Thank you.